Hey guys, so this video is for our customers with classic vehicles, older vehicles, whatever you want to call it, for their high school babies, their dream trucks, dream cars. So I've often get asked, why don't you want to do my 700R Ford transmission or E4OD or AOD or some of these older type of transmissions? And it's not that we don't want to work on the transmission, it's that the vehicle, being its age and mileage, it may not necessarily have a lot of miles, but it will have problems. It's possibly and likely going to need a new oil cooler, might need U-joints, drive shaft rebalance. It's going to need a rear main seal, cooler lines, might need a flex plate flywheel, might need a TPS sensor, computer, and there's always a cause of failure, something that made the transmission fail besides age and old fluid, or maybe it ran out of fluid because the cooler lines were leaking and you didn't know, they kept driving it. There's always something. So whenever it comes time to work on a vehicle like this, we ask our customers that they have to know that, hey, if the transmission, let's say the transmission by itself is $3,000, it's not a $3,000 job. You have an extra about $1,200 to do professional installation, flushing oil cooler and the fluid, with new fluid, of course. And then there's the costs associated with getting this vehicle back together with new, like I mentioned before, flywheel, U-joints, etc. So all these extra costs, we don't know what it's going to cost you. But if you want someone like me or professional shop to do a good job, put out a really good transmission that's working properly and that's not going to give you future issues, you're going to be looking at spending an extra $1,000 to $2,000 in some cases, not all the times, but 99% of the time you're going to need extra work. And you may only need a rear main seal, you might only need a TPS sensor, but like this vehicle here behind me, this F-150, it's going to need a lot more work than just a rear main seal or a output shaft yoke or a U-joint or something like that. So as long as you understand and you're willing to spend the extra money to make it right, we'll take on the job, we'll do it. But this almost has to be an open checkbook to just let us replace everything that needs to be replaced. We'll send you text messages, pictures of all the bad parts, but I'm not going to call you every 30 minutes to say, hey, can you approve a U-joint? Can you approve a rear main seal? Can you approve a flex plate? No, we're just going to do it all because we don't have time. I don't have time to stop what I'm doing to call you back every 30 minutes to tell you that you need more work and more work and more work. I'm just giving you an estimated guesstimate. It could need up to, usually, it's not going to be no $2,000, but you have to be willing to spend the money, because if you need a cooler, if you need a bunch of other work, if it's rusted up, it's going to cost some extra money. So as long as you have the budget, the extra money to do it right, we'll be willing to do it. If you're not willing to do all the extra work that your vehicle needs, then we're not going to touch it. We're not going to do it, because then we're not going to be doing a job in good faith. And this is one of those situations where you just have to trust the shop and transmission rebuilder that's doing the transmission for you. Because if there's no trust, then you shouldn't even take it there. Like, if you don't trust me, if you don't feel like I'm the guy that should be working on your truck or the shop that should be doing the job for you, then it's best that you don't bring it here, because you're not going to feel good about bringing it here. If you're more comfortable driving another hour or two to take it to someone you trust, by all means take it there. And if you ever have a problem, if you ever have an issue, and I'm free, and you go through social media to ask a question, I might be able to help, and I might be able to chime in and say, hey, well, let's try this, do that. I do that for volunteer to do that anyways, but on my free time. But we don't want all the jobs. We just want that if you're going to bring your vehicle to us, and it's a vehicle that's going to need more work than just the transmission itself, You have to be willing to spend the extra money so that we can do it right. So the technician's not going to be stressed out about, hey, you know, am I going to spend an extra 30 minutes trying to get this one bolt out when we should just cut it and replace it? You know, because it's just sometimes these transmissions are really hard to work on because they've been in the vehicle so many years. It's not like working on a 4-year-old, 3-year-old truck that everything comes out easily. You know, if it's a 20, 30-year-old vehicle, nothing comes out easy. There's always problems, there's always broken bolts, there's always busted up cooler lines, and then there's always the transmission that's been butchered in there 10 times, you know, and it's just wore out bolts and wore out mount and everything. So yeah, we'll work on it. But listen, you got to understand, this is that conversation. You know, I can't have this conversation with you every time. That's why I made this video, for you to watch and understand that, hey, we'll take on the vehicle as long as you're willing to replace everything that needs to be replaced to make it right. The vehicle is not leaving my shop with a bad U-joint. The vehicle is not leaving my shop with a bad cooler line. Everything that needs to be replaced related to the transmission is gonna get replaced. If your engine's ticking, knocking, pouring oil, fix that first. Take care of those issues before you bring it to me. If it's pouring coolant out of the radiator, replace the radiator before you bring it to me, because you might drive 2 hours or have it towed here from an hour and a half away for me to tell you, hey, you're taking this back because it's pouring coolant, or, you know, the rear differential's falling apart, or the tires are, you know, falling apart where I can't even test drive it. The vehicle has to be in good drivable condition. Now you might say, well, the transmission's bad, I can't drive it. Well, listen, I mean, we need at least your tires, your brakes need to work so that we can do a good test drive on it. But then again, you know, don't always assume that we're gonna go in there and charge you an extra $1,000 or $2,000 on every job. No, we're gonna do it in good faith. We're gonna show you a picture of every part we replaced, aside from the transmission that was extra or that needed to be replaced to do the job right. If while on the test drive your radiator blows up, you're buying a radiator too. So please understand, I'm not gonna purposely blow up your radiator, but if your radiator blows up while I'm test driving your vehicle, you've got to buy a radiator too. And if you still have that, like, I don't trust this guy, I don't trust this shop, then find the place that you can trust. Everyone says Google, but it's no longer Google anymore. Like, people are starting to trust these groups, Facebook groups, other social media platforms. Ask around, hey, I'm in Central Texas, or I'm in Central Oklahoma. Where should I go to get my 95 Chevy truck worked on? The transmission needs overhauling. And once you get enough information of like, hey, there's this shop there, I trust them, they do great work, you know, ask around first before you actually take it to a shop, because you need to feel good about taking it to that shop to get it repaired or done. Not necessarily my shop, but you need to feel good about taking your vehicle into a shop where you're not going to be worried that the vehicle is going to get broken into at night, that you know, you don't want to take it. If you feel like this shop's too shady, I don't feel good about taking my baby there. And I'm not talking about a physical, actual human baby, but your baby truck or automobile. If you don't feel good, don't take it there. Keep looking around till you find a place where you feel comfortable taking your vehicle to.